So the other two things we did today are a block, but this is an actual style. So on our dress, we noticed earlier this morning that the back is on the fold. So the block is not on the fold, but the style is on the fold. So what I have here is a piece of brown paper that's folded. And I'm going to put my center front and my center back both. So my center back's over here. I have my center back on the fold. So I'm going to place my center front on the fold as well. I have an extra big piece. We can measure it and see how big it is, but you can see I have a margin. The bottom isn't that big of a deal. Like I could put the hem of the skirt all the way against the edge of the paper, but usually the edge of the paper is messed up, so I avoid it by at least an inch. But the top, as you can see from the other one I did, let me just do that so they don't fly away while I'm flipping papers around. The top, you can see, goes from being a relatively straight skirt to tipping up. So you need a pretty serious margin, like 3 or 4 inches from your center front or back to the top of your paper. So where the waist is, you need a bit to allow it to curve. The bottom, it's going to go up, so that shape is going to be mirrored at the bottom. So at the bottom, it doesn't matter if you're really close to the edge. Again, this is going to become our style. So whereas on the blocks we don't add seam allowance, on this we are going to add seam allowance. So don't cut it out, and do leave yourself some margin. So over here on the side, after I spread it, I have to tip it out some more, so I get half a flare on the front side seam, and I have to tip it out on the back, so I get half a flare on the back side seam. And then to that, I'm going to be adding hem allowance and seam allowance before I cut it out. And as we noticed today on the dress, the right and the left are different. The left side has a zipper in it, so it has different seam allowance. So you need extra space there. So don't cut it out yet. We'll talk about the finishing of everything and adding the seam allowance to everything and the notches and the punch holes and all that. We'll talk about that next week. So you just need it something like this, and you can staple it down. And you can even punch a hole in it somewhere so that you can carry it on a hook if you want. And this is a big piece, so if you want, you can fold it and punch. Like you want it balanced so it hangs straight, but you can fold it and punch. So that, or you can punch out in the margin. So once you add your seam allowance, you can punch a new hole. So make sure that you leave yourself some margin, because we got stuff to do to this thing after. So I'm just going to scoot it pretty far down from the top. And I'm going to tape all the piece. I'm going to tape the front piece down first, and then the second one, I'm going to match them up at the dart point there. So I'm going to pause this,